welcome to the third session at Explore this year. I hope you've had a good chance already to think about some of those questions together in groups. If you're joining us online, today we're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 12, which is the story, or the beginning of a story, of a very famous person in the Bible, and actually a very famous person in Jewish history, and also a big part of the Muslim tradition, and that is the man Abraham, or Abram as he's called in this story. But just as we start, I wonder if you've ever thought what it would take for you to leave everything and go to a strange and far off place. Maybe for you it would be the promise of new life, new freedom. For some people it will be that to be able to flee from war or oppression. That's why they want to go to a new place. But what happens if you had the choice? I mean, imagine you were living in an easy place. You had what you needed, it was comfortable. What would it be that would cause you to go? Leaving your mother, your father behind and going to a strange and far off land. Now, some of you may have done that as international students. And in Genesis 12, we meet this man called Abram, and we find that he leaves a comfortable position and goes to a far-off land that he doesn't know. So he leaves the comfort and he travels to this far-off land. And we think, why? Well, maybe when you're looking at the beginning of Genesis chapter 12, you notice that God said to Abram, go, leave. So a simple answer could be, the reason Abram leaves is because he's told to. But actually, when we carry on reading, we realise there's more to it than just simply Abram is told to go, so he goes. So the first thing we notice when we look at it is Abram leaves because God has promised to bring blessing. So for those who listened last week, we saw that the world was in quite a bad place. Curses had entered the world. Humanity was separate from God because they'd turned away from the one who gives life. But I wonder if you notice something different this week. Rather than curses coming on the world, God said he's going to bring blessing. And blessing is the direct opposite of a curse. So you could say that what we're getting with Abraham and this man Abram is the fact that these curses are going to be reversed. They're going to be turned around. They're going to be blessings. And God is the one who makes these promises. He says, I will make a new people. So he tells Abraham that he'll be the father of a great nation. He will make Abraham have this great name. He'll be this great leader. And he'll make it so that this people, this kingdom, will be a blessing to all people, everyone on the earth. And this is a template for how God is going to reverse those curses that came about at the beginning of Genesis. So he's saying that through one person, I'm going to bring a great nation. A nation that brings blessing to everyone. That brings peace, love, joy, happiness, safety, security, life. And you notice it's not Abraham who says he will do it. God says, I will do it. Now this can often be a different way to the way that we might think about how religion works. So we might think, if we want to change our relationship with God or make God happy, it's me, I will do it. I will do good things, and then God will give me good things, safety or success. I mean, it's also how we think about how the world works. We do good things, we do nice things to nice people, we work hard and we get success. And some of that is true, but what God says to Abraham here sort of turns that round on its head. He says he will bring blessing. we also notice that God promises to bring this blessing from a really unusual position. Now there's a phrase in English that we use when something is really difficult. We might say, it's like getting blood from a stone. It's just a strange idiom, like getting blood from a stone. Now obviously stones don't have blood, but you get the point. We might use this phrase if something's really difficult. Maybe you're trying to have a conversation with someone and they won't tell you anything. It's like getting blood from a stone. Now in this story we have a really unusual position. So God has said he would make this man Abram into a great nation. But it's strange because, well, Abram's really old when we meet him at the beginning of the story. He's 75. Now, 75-year-old men can bear children, but the problem is Abram also has a very old wife. And, well, we find out early on that she cannot have children. So getting children from Abram and Sarai, his wife, is like getting blood from a stone. It's an impossible thing. But interestingly, God says, look, he will take these old and these broken humans and he will bring life. He will bring blessing from those that are cursed. And so when Abraham is told, why is it that he left everything? Why is it that Abraham left everything? Well, because he sees this amazing thing that God does. Wouldn't you go if you were Abraham? Now the story carries on a little bit, and we notice that Abraham travels to this land, and when he gets there, he's told by God, look, Abraham, this land won't actually go to you. It will go to one of your offspring, one of your descendants. So we start to have this unravelling story. God has promised to bring blessing from one of Abraham's offspring. So when they arrive in this new land, God says, look, it's not going to be given to you, it's going to be given to one of your offspring, to your children, to your descendants. These promises are for you, Abraham, and they will come true to you, partly, but ultimately they will come true through one of your descendants. So when we finish this chapter of the story, we're left waiting. We're left thinking someone is coming. Someone else is going to come along in the story. We're waiting to find the person who's going to bring blessing, who's going to make the nation great, who's going to make it so that all the other nations come in and receive this blessing, this love, this peace, this hospitality, this joy, this life. We're waiting to find the person who's going to reverse the curses. Now let's just pause and think about that for a second. Now I don't know what you've thought so far of the Bible story as we've looked through and who God is. But at each point we've tried to think about, actually God is quite extraordinary. And here we get more of that. Here is a God who promises to bring blessing, to bring life out of brokenness and out of death. Not because of what the humans do, but he promises to bring it because of who he is. Now I think that's an amazing view and understanding of what God is like. This is what the Christian God is like. This is what the Bible is trying to tell us he's like. And so we leave you thinking, what do you think? What do you think of a God like this? So I've spoken enough. It's now time for you to go over and discuss in your groups. Thanks very much.